Amazing, amazing stuff. So, Diane, there is a lot of talk out there about ETFs, and there's a lot of talk about allowing Bitcoin, the original one, to survive. I'm desperate to hear your take on it, and also obviously the not the second one. I think there was a sort of like a horse race. I don't know. Wasn't XRP the second? I believe it was the second one. It might have even been the first, for all I know. Just Bitcoin was the first one out of the gate. But I believe that Ethereum is also going to have an ETF attached to it. How do you see the whole thing playing out? Are they trying to stretch out the three-dimensional world so that the big boys out there can take their money? You ready to rumble?
Ready to rumble. Ready to StreamYard.
Yes.
We're going to blow up the internet.
How's my hair look?
Dynamite.
Okay, guys, by popular demand, we got him back. The one and only, the Lion, is in the house. Don't forget, I got to make a few announcements if you don't mind. January 21st, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael is going to be in the flesh at 166 Center Street in Cape Canaveral. That's going to be a live event that's going to start at 12 noon, probably going to go until about maybe 6 o'clock or so, and there's going to be a Q&A. It's going to be fabulous. If you guys know anybody who's in the Cape Canaveral area, you should tell them that the inventor of the scalar wave technology that allows the body to heal the body of all disease is going to be in town January 21st. Also, the XRP referral program at stayingalive.com, alive with two eyes, okay? You're able to now earn XRP as a referring agent of stayingalive.com anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if you live in Japan, if you live in Europe, if you live in South America, Central America, anywhere, as long as you got internet and you're able to advertise us locally in the Brevard County. If they come in through your link, there's going to be a link down below when this video is over that gives you a tutorial, it walks you through this process on exactly how to do that. And then you got all the marketing materials. Even Tony Robbins is on board with the scalar wave technology, if you can believe that. Amazing, amazing stuff. So, Diane, there is a lot of talk out there about ETFs, and there's a lot of talk about allowing Bitcoin, the original one, to survive. I'm desperate to hear your take on it. And also, obviously, the not the second one. I think there was a sort of like a horse race. I don't know. It wasn't XRP the second? I believe it was the second one. It might have even been the first, for all I know. Just Bitcoin was the first one out of the gate. But I believe that Ethereum is also going to have an ETF attached to it. How do you see the whole thing playing out? Are they trying to stretch out the three-dimensional world so that the big boys out there can take their money and get the small people who don't do their homework to come in and sort of just, be the ones left holding the bag? And there might be a slaughter as far as I'm concerned. I think that's highly, highly plausible. What is your take on it?
Well, it's interesting, Mel. By the way, thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. Amber, thank you very much for all your technical help. You bringing this up right now, Mel, is very, very interesting, and I'll tell you why. Over the weekend, the Lord started to give me some downloads on this because I saw this popping up. And I remember when this came up with regards to Grayscale. And the CEO was touting the fact that they had over 100 conversations with Gary Gensler. They were getting the thumbs up on everything that was, going to happen, good to go. And right up to the day before the announcement came out from Gensler. The next day, Gensler says, nope, no ETF. And the CEO went ballistic. He couldn't believe what just happened. Well, from my perspective, Gary Gensler is actually a good guy. And I'll tell you why. Ripple put up $40 million into a grant for him to teach blockchain at MIT. During the time he was there, he had his class. I actually have the recordings of his lessons. I have the transcripts, and it was in session 20. He said, "So class, now you pretend you have a coin and you want all the bankers to pick it up. What do? You follow another gentleman's path and you have to give up 50% of your equity." That was a clue, Mel. That was a clue. He was signaling to the market exactly how the SEC used to operate. That was its modus operandi. It was very much like the Italian mob, right? Somebody new comes on the block. They're trying to start a restaurant or a business, and what's the first thing that happens? The capos come in and press them and tell them they've got to pay, or they're going to burn them down. Well, this is exactly what happened with XRP. XRP got the pressure right up front. They came out with a plan to drip it out, and that was called the escrow. Because they weren't public, nobody would ever see who was able to acquire those tokens. Well, when the white hats came in, the military came in 2014, they took it over because it was originally a black hat operation. Once they took it over, now the good guys have it. Okay. That brings up a whole rabbit hole with regards to Jed McCaleb, et cetera, et cetera. But back to the ETF. Those ETFs right now, he had me watching 2 movies over the weekend. One of them was called Margin Call. The other was called The Big Short. And I don't know if you've seen either of those movies, but The Big Short is the whole story of what happened during 2008 with Lehman Brothers, with the collapse of the mortgage market and everything that went along with that. Talking about the CDOs and the mortgage-backed securities, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if all of these banks came in and bought Bitcoin, now's the time to unload it. They know it's going to zero. It's not ISO 222 compliant. With Nasara, days, weeks, and months away from being announced for us here in the United States, with a gold-backed currency, not a gold standard. We have gold-backed currency. And there's a big difference. We can't use gold standard because that was used during a fractionalized fiat banking system. A gold-backed system is exactly what it says it is. There's gold that amounts to every single dollar or every single digital asset that's out there in circulation. It's on the blockchain. Okay. So you own you're a bank and you own a ton of Bitcoin. You got in at the ground floor. You got your 50%, right? Well, you got to find somebody to take it off your hands. So what do? You create an ETF, which, by the way, is actually a quotient from a gentleman named Euler, spelled E-U-L-E-R. And what it does is it gives them the ability to take the money that they get from the buyers, cash themselves out, and hand over the worthless asset to an unaware, naive, and misinformed client. And they could care less. They've been doing it for years with stocks and bonds and everything else. And that's exactly what's taking place. So who's the winner? The bank. But here's the better part of the story. Go ahead and ask your question.
No. We're like we got like people. The thing is rolling like a clock here. There's a lot of people joining us as we speak. So what you're saying for the news guy that's just joining us, no ETFs will be allowed for Bitcoin going forward because supposedly Gensler said no, not going to happen.
Well, he said that a year and a half ago.
Okay,
they're kicking the can down the road. I think they're giving them all a lot of hope. But what's the justification to let them unload it when it's worthless?
Because they owe favors to the big boys, and the big boys hate to lose, and they have to do it on the backs of the little people. They're going to bring in the little people. And this is just speculation, but it's so highly plausible that it's almost factual. You think about this for a second, okay? The people are going to come in because they don't do their homework. They listen to CNN, ABC, always broadcasting crap. Okay, they come in, they don't do their homework, they buy Bitcoin, they buy Ethereum just on name recognition because they're beating that drum so hard that it's become sort of like second nature. It's people believe, oh, that's the one, those are the ones we hear in the news. So they buy a bunch of it. Millions of potentially hundreds of millions of people will come in, buy small fractions of this stuff. The Bitcoin goes up to 100,000. The guys who already own the Bitcoin also own what? XRP. And they know that XRP is the one. Imagine this. They were able to sell something that moves at 3 transactions per minute. And they were able to sell it so well that it got to where it got, strictly on smoke and mirrors, kabuki theater, as I like to say, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine what they could do with a token that has all of the functionality of an XRP, which will be the final Bitcoin, in my opinion.
When you say they, who are we speaking to?
We're talking about the people who own Bitcoin right now, who are incredible salespeople because they were able to sell the hell out of a Bitcoin that does nothing. Okay. So a lot of them already own secretly. They own the one XRP. They also own the Bitcoin. They say, oh, wow, the ETFs are coming. I'm going to get out. I'm going to cash out at 100,000. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to start parlaying it over a little at a time. And the XRP, build up my XRP bags, and we'll go for the final ride. Meanwhile, the little guy is left holding the bag.
That's a scenario. That's a very plausible scenario.
Yeah.
In my opinion, they're going to kick the can down the road again.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going to come up and they say, no, this isn't right in the documentation. And you need to go back and rewrite it. Now, why have they waited so long? Everybody, over the last week and a half, reissued their applications with modifications. What were those modifications? Now, I did see one that was trying to raise, it said it had $4 million to start the fund. Mel.
Yeah.
$4 million. It's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you got hedge fund managers that have that much money to start their own funds. You're talking a bank? And these are tier 1 banks because tier 1 bank is basically a bank that operates on its own capital, not deposits. Right. So if they've been acquiring all this XRP and they've been sitting on it, we know 2 things. Number 1, anything that's nefarious has already been clawed back. So there's probably a lot of it that isn't even eligible from the banks.
Right.
Now, if we're talking tier 1 banks, Jamie Dimon, he's gone. He's not around. He's been replaced. And so have so many of these other top bankers, the CEOs, CFOs, etc., because they were nefarious. They're not going to go into the new system. So we're not going to create a system that's brand new to operate like the old system. So, 2 things are going to happen. Either it's going to get kicked down, the can's going to get kicked down the road because there's a plausible reason to delay this. Now, if the military is keeping the market up so that the retirement accounts and the pension accounts, 401ks, etc., because they're all mirrored onto the QFS, that money is going to come out of the market, so to speak, or they're going to get credit for it. So they turn the market off completely, just shut it off. So there's no advantage to anybody that's short, right? There's no advantage to anybody that was trying to get, a position on to benefit from that. It just stops. Gives us 2 things: protects the market from short sellers. Number 2, it protects the value of the account for all the retirement accounts. See, we don't care about the equity accounts. We don't care about the bonds in people's accounts. That's all going to be locked up. They'll never get to it. So it'll just be lost value. But it's the retirement accounts that we have to protect. I went in and I looked at how much retirement money was lost during the big crash in 2008. $5 trillion was lost in retirement accounts. There's only 35 trillion total. So now all of those IRAs and retirement accounts, they've all come back up because we hit a new high back on December 14th. That December 14th was exactly, get this, Mel. The prior high was January 4th of 2022. It was 1 year, 11 months, and 11 days. And we had a brand new high on the market. That new high confirmed a prophecy from back in the 1700s that said that first mammon would be destroyed. New York City, because that's its mammon, right? That's what it lives off of, is Wall Street. And that the New York Stock Exchange would never, ever open again. So we're not bringing in anything from the old system into the new system. Why? Because with NESARA, with the restoration and the reclamation and the redemption, and add on top of that, the money for humanitarian projects, ZIM bonds, etc. People are going to have so much money, they're not going to need to move towards any kind of growth via making money off of somebody else's efforts or non-efforts. And that plays into corporate equity. The moment you remove corporate equity in the stock market, and now it stays in the company, what can you do with it? You can put it into the employees, you can put it into your R&D, you can grow the business, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not doing all those things that they did to cook the books to get Wall Street happy. So we eliminate so many things. So, back to your question about the ETFs. I think it's just gonna get frozen. Just get frozen because too many people stand to lose.
Yeah.
And they're not going through all this.
Do you think an ETF for XRP will happen?
No.
No?
It's not needed.
Okay.
And XRP really isn't in a league with any other coin. It was never created to do what these other coins are trying to do. See, it's kind of like when the internet first came out. Everybody's trying to jump in between and figure out how to get a piece of the pie. There's only one pie, and that's the QFS operating on the XRPL, not the XLML or the HBARL. It's the XRPL.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. It's the only way to communicate with the XRPL, which is the quantum financial system. And where's it going to operate, Mel?
On Starlink.
And Starlink is a quantum connection.
Absolutely. To the computers, one in Dubai, one in Spain, and one in Reno. And there's people out there, by the way, without giving them too much notoriety, we all know who we are talking about. But this particular person's out there saying that XLM is the one and XRP is going to go away. This is a person that was very, very hot on XRP a year ago that we don't talk to anymore. We know exactly what we're talking about. And by the way, this person also said that if you want a med bed, you have to, and she's out there saying this publicly, you have to travel to the moon. She's out there saying this publicly. That's laughable. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. That makes no sense.
Well, never interrupt an enemy when they're hanging themselves. Let the show play out, right?
Right. Well, see, and the thing for your viewers to understand is we're talking about what's been, offered to us, which was never supposed to be offered to us.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump had his last rally, he was ready to sign the papers for NESARA. He was told he could not sign until after the election. Jerome Powell was ready to flip the switch in November of 2020. And it didn't happen. So he had to do what he termed, in the term is called oh, I just had the name of it. What's it called? Uh, the overnight option. The overnight option is a cooking term, Mel, and it means when you let something rest for, 8 to 10 minutes. Well, in our case, it was 8 months to 12 months.
Right.
That was the original resting period, and everything's supposed to happen in December 2021. Nassara moved into the first position, and that was crucial because we needed to make sure that there wasn't any resentment from people
Mhm.
with regards to XRP if the buyback had happened first. There
Yeah.
would have been people that were just, carrying every bit of offense there was. Well, good people wouldn't make it through because of that. So by everybody getting Nassara, getting redemption, reclamation, repatriation, etc., before the buyback of XRP, everybody's going to be happy because they got tens of millions of dollars. Now, do they care if somebody made $3 million on their XRP? No, they're happy for them. But what if they didn't have anything and that person got $3 million? They'd have a fit. So
Absolutely.
that was one way to kind of, relieve that pressure.
Yeah. So is the Black Swan a real event? Is that happening? Is that going to come? Or is that maybe something that's been diminished and it's not going to be as bad as we all thought going in? I mean, there's some people saying, Mel, there's a lot of things that were supposed to happen and not happen. I would tell you flat out, whoever you are, whether you're a lady or a man, it doesn't matter, or something in between these days. You never know. But the reality is we never made any dates on anything. As a matter of fact, I'm out here pounding the drum, telling people to stop following dates and don't follow people who give you a date that it's going to happen tomorrow. The reality is I would love to call them out by name, but you guys know who they are. Okay. It doesn't really matter. So anybody who's saying that we were supposed to, be somewhere at a specific time, we never said that. We said this thing is going to play out. And I've said many, many times, nothing is going to happen without Trump coming back. And I'll say that forever. Nobody is going to become a billionaire under Biden regime. That's a fact. Whether he's a clone, whether he's a robot, whether he's an actor, it doesn't matter. No one's going to become a clone under this administration. This administration has to disappear in order for things to manifest.
Well, and this is what we know, Mel. We know that a couple events are going to happen simultaneously. Okay. Let's address your Black Swan question first.
Mhm.
I just did a post on that the other day, did a video. And what the Lord revealed was the Black Swan event has already happened. It's what's happening in the Suez Canal on the Red Sea. It's the fact that these cargo container companies, they've all turned away from taking any cargo from Israel. That in itself causes a 5 to 6 month delay in goods and manufacturing equipment. That's the Black Swan because nobody sees it. So what do? They switch the narrative over to the stock market. Well, we can't have the stock market crash because if the stock market crashed, it would negate the plan to secure the retirement money for everybody. So we're not going to have a stock market. And it's funny because we can look back in history and say, oh, look what it did here. Look what it did here. Look what it did here. That doesn't mean it's going to happen now. But there's enough people that don't have a history with understanding Wall Street. See, I remember in 1986, I was in the office. I just walked into the office. The partner of the accounting firm I was working at calls me into his office. And he says, Dave, how's your day? I said, great. He says, not so good for your number one client. He just lost $1.9 million in a margin call. Every single day for the next 5 years, I had to report to him where the Dow Jones was when I got to the office. Now, did everything, go back up? Absolutely it did. But the point being is we can't use history to tell us what's going to happen now because we're not in those same waters. And of course, in my post, all the intel reports from 17, etc., made it very, very clear. We were to do one thing, Mel. Watch the water, not the stock market. So if we don't think that's a big enough clue, then we're fooling ourselves, and we're listening to people that are just passing on the fear porn about Wall Street, and then using that to motivate people to buy gold and silver. That's
Absolutely.
all it is. It's a sell tactic.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, where do you think the XRP Army 1.0, do you think they actually believe a lot of the jargon they're talking about, which basically screams three-dimensional world? It seems that if they really do believe that jargon, that means they don't want to graduate out of the three-dimensional world. They want everything to stay status quo. Don't touch it, leave it alone. And they don't want us to graduate into, technology that's beyond our comprehensions, etc. So you think that some of them are just playing a part? Like Digital Asset Investors, one of them, I'll give you an example. I've talked to him personally. I know for a fact this guy knows as much as you and I do, and then some. He is 17 all the way, no question about it. Okay. And so with that said, are some of them just playing a part because they've built this massive database of 200,000 followers, et cetera, on YouTube and some of these channels, and they sound like CNN purposely, and they don't want to tell people what they really believe because they don't want to lose their channels, which I understand. We surf the gray line. You and I are ballsy. We go all the way up to the gray line, and we basically give them a little finger there and say, and then we go right back. We try not to cross it. Sometimes we maybe cross it a little bit, where we go right back, which causes our channels to survive somehow by the grace of God. But the reality is, why do you think they're beating this drum of the three-dimensional world as you and I and millions of us that are part of that 17th movement can see it so clearly that it's coming?
Well, I think it's a couple of reasons. Number one, just like you had mentioned, they're financially bound to the three-dimensional world with their viewership, their followers. They can't afford to point them into the direction of truth.
Mm-hmm.
So their focus is 100% on me. And it's very much like a lot of the, I'm getting ready to release a video tomorrow on my, my debt clock decode. But one scripture keeps coming up with regards to Jesus in the temple and how he turned over the tables of the money changers. They're no different. They're money changers. So they're asking people to pay, whether it's in a Discord or, through their compensation with YouTube, to click the button to get information that is very, very limited in scope. Now, I will tell you this. I'm the one that shared the information up front with DAI with regards to Ethereum and Bitcoin. When God first brought me over in April 3rd of 2021, I read him in on what the Lord had said about them, about the sting operations. I termed ETHgate. Now he won't admit that. He won't admit that I gave him the read in on what was going on. But I will tell you this, he's done a fantastic job with it. It was for him. It wasn't for me. And God said, give it to him. He's the one I want to run with that. He's done a marvelous job. But, at some point you have to look at the truth and say, whose banner am I carrying? Am I carrying my banner or am I carrying the Lord's banner?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen, Mel, when this is all done? What is he going to do? He's not going to run a channel because there's nothing to talk about.
Exactly. We might become food podcasters or something.
Well,
we might have to find a new line of work, because when everybody's got there and we are right, and the Nasara Jasara becomes the thing, and the XRP becomes what we're talking about, and everything manifests the way we see it, what is there left to talk about? Like you said, absolutely nothing. I told my wife, because I'll probably at that point, obviously, we will have the wherewithal, right, to be able to travel around the world, and I'll interview every billionaire that I've created. Maybe, we'll do that. You know what I mean? But it will be face to face.
Well, but see, you're going to have a humanitarian project too.
Absolutely.
They're not.
Many.
They're not.
Several.
They're just going to take their money and run.
Yeah.
You know, we're committed to humanity. That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
We're doing this for humanity. Humanity is the winner at the end of all this.
Totally. Totally.
And
let me ask you a question before I forget. My friend Mackenzie, I won't give her a full name. She's actually going through my broker right now over in the UK to buying a large sum of XRP, the one, for the people who don't want to go crazy using Uphold and all the cabal companies. She wants to know, she has 215. I'm going to make you laugh. I know what the answer is already, but she said she has 215 Zim notes, right? Zim notes, and each one is $100 trillion, and she wants to know if she has enough.
yes.
You would think?
Oh yeah.
She's got enough,
Yep.
right? There you
She
go,
has
Mackenzie. You got your answer.
You have one and you have enough.
Yeah, one. Well, if you got 215 notes and they're each 100 trillion Zims, wow, that's huge.
Yep.
That's huge.
And this is what you want to find. This is what you want to ask her, Mel. If she bought them, she needs to make sure that she has her invoice. And she has a copy of her invoice in with her information.
Yeah.
When she goes to the redemption center. And number two, when she finds out what they're actually worth, number one, she gives God all the praise and glory. And number two, she gets ready for the ride of her life because she's got a 200-year legacy business to operate. Because the majority of those Zim bonds has to be used for humanitarian purposes. Now, in my last video I did on the Zim bonds, there's between 5 and 20% that's going to be a personal portion.
Right.
And the remaining balance will be what has to go into your humanitarian project. Now, if she doesn't have a humanitarian project to take with her,
oh, she has plenty. She has plenty.
Well, she has to have them down in that template form. You can't just have something, you write it down and you get there. No, you have to show them proof that you've already set up on
she's
paper.
got your whole program and she's been through the whole thing. She's got it all. Okay. She's got it all down to a science. She's just waiting for the call.
Great. No, then she's in great shape. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
She's ready.
Need a lot of help. She need a lot of help too. A lot of integrators. With that amount of money.
It was surprising what you said early on, though. By the way, there's over 800 people watching us right now on my channel. I don't know about your channel.
Well, we should probably at least have over 5,000.
Yeah, easily.
By the time we're done. Yeah.
Yeah, easily. So it's surprising you said early on that Gensler can end up being one of the good guys. I've heard that even Oprah Winfrey could be one of the good people. It's going to be surprising who is going to be a white hat and who's going to be a black hat. And we don't understand some of these roles and why they're being played in such a way. And we may not be maybe intelligent enough to read between the lines, or maybe they've sent out the fog to fog us, you know what I mean? And to keep us dazed and confused as to what and who's playing what role and for what reason.
Well, in 2018, and I think I saw, DAI put this video up because again, the attempt is we need a villain. We got to find a bad guy, right?
We need a boogeyman.
Right. And we'll make that Gary Gensler. But when Jay Clayton dropped that lawsuit on December 21st, I'm sorry, December 22nd, and I've shared this with you too, that was the day after a 7,885 year agreement expired. That agreement was between the devil and God. God gave him 7,885 years to steal, kill, and destroy. And the Mayans had Enoch to show them how to build their calendar. So there was always a permanent record of the timeline. He didn't file that lawsuit before that date expired. That was December 21st, 2020. So that's where time begins for us. And the moment that was dropped, XRP went into protective custody. And that's really the role that Gary's played to keep everybody away from XRP, to make it look like it's not important. It's damaged
Right.
goods. But we're going to come to find out that, again, his role was to look like a bad guy while he was keeping everything protected.
Right.
Because at MIT in 2018, in one of the video clips, he says, XRP is not as security Ethereum is. So how do you take a man at that level who's now teaching blockchain technology at MIT, and now he comes into the SEC and he flips his position 180 degrees? A man of his caliber doesn't do that. Just like you wouldn't change your view of XRP.
Absolutely not.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
My point is, it's all about protection. I mean, there's over 900 people that have been in witness protection, from Elvis to, many, many people we're going to come to find out didn't really die, but they're still alive. Princess Diana, etc.
Well, we got somebody here asking if the Vietnamese dong is going to be part of the humanitarian project. The answer is that the humanitarian project is your part to do when the dong matures. But yes, the dong will be part of the reevaluation, I'm sure, and you'll agree with that, correct?
Yeah, the dong, the dinar, the bolivar. There's one bond and 8 currencies in the first basket.
Okay.
So again, remember, the ZIM is a bond. It's not currency. And that was part of a video that I did where I actually identified the fact that the Chinese or the Asian elders, they made an agreement with the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. They bought all of the assets above the ground. Then they turned around and they made an agreement to repurchase every single ZIM bond. They're paying for it, the Asian elders. Now, the Asian elders have the equivalent of 100 quadrillion metric tons, 100 quadrillion metric tons, Mel, of gold that's already mined and stored. That amount of gold would be a 10.5 mile cube, high, wide, and deep. That's how much gold that they have. Gold is a self-replenishing natural resource that comes from deep within the earth. And they actually have access to that. Think about that. It's not scarce.
Absolutely.
And
No, we've been living in a world of scarcity because somebody else was allowed to paint the picture, and we allowed them to paint that picture of scarcity. But there's no scarcity.
there's no scarcity.
Yeah. Just like a lot of the podcasters out there are trying to protect their little. Oh, this is mine. Nobody can touch.
Mm-hmm.
You're crazy. There's 8 billion people on the planet, guys. Get real.
Well, I liked your comment on one of the videos you just did the other day where you were talking about oil, and you talked about it, going to $1.25 a gallon.
Yeah.
It's going to go to about 35 cents because oil is also a self-replenishing byproduct within the earth that will never run out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reality is, and the reality is, there's so much oil that if we wanted to run on this, commodity, call it whatever you want to call it, black gold, we could run on it for 200 years, maybe more.
Forever.
Yeah.
Well, 2004, I was in Jerusalem, and a gentleman that was on our trip from Texas, and maybe he's watching, he and his wife worked for a company called Daystar, and it was Christian broadcasting. He had a word from the Lord to call this gentleman, and he waited 6 months. And the Holy Spirit finally told him, call him today. He has his number on a little piece of paper. He calls him on the phone. The line rings, and the man answers the phone and says, "What took you so long? I've been waiting 6 months." He knew who was calling him.
Yeah.
He then invites him down to the Negev Desert. And again, in 2004, they found oil in the land of Israel, and nobody knew about it. It took 5 years before it went public. But this is what he told me when he got back. He says, Dave, they're telling me that they have found the largest caldera of oil underneath the land of Israel. It's bigger than anything that's ever been discovered. And here's how I described it. He said, Dave, imagine this like huge balloon, deep, deep, deep in the earth. And up from the balloon are 2 straws. And at the top of the straws are little pools of oil. And this is what Saudi Arabia and the other countries are tapped into. And he said, in prophecy, they're talking about that there would be a great shaking and those straws would break. And there would be no more oil going up to the top of the straws. So that those Middle Eastern countries would no longer have access to that caldera or that, balloon of oil. So I was writing my white paper on this, and I come across an article the very next day written by a gentleman, and here's a picture of what I was told in 2004, right there on the screen, the balloon with the 2 straws, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, hey, it's all true. It's all true. I mean, I said this on Dr. Kia's show. Maybe you saw it.
No,
we
I
know
did
that
not.
we know that God's a keeper of all his promises. So if there was anything we needed on earth, Mel, he already put it here
Oh, absolutely.
before we even got here.
Yeah.
So he made sure there was plenty of water. And all the water's under the ground.
There is plenty for everybody of everything. We're just the pioneers of pushing the envelope that hopefully will manifest into something greater than we can even comprehend. But the reality is we want the technology. We want flying cars. We're tired of driving an extension of a Model T Ford. Yeah, it's got air conditioning and a stereo system and all the whistles and bells, but it's still an extension of a Model T Ford. And someone's controlling the fact that we're still scraping the earth like a bunch of turkeys, whether you like to believe that or not. That's true. So, look, at the end of the day, let's get back to Iraq. Iraq is making a lot of noise. There's no question about it. But again, and I'm sure you'll agree with me 1,000%, 100,000%, until a certain individual gets out of the White House, whether he's a clone, nothing's going to happen. But it does sound like they want, if you really listen to what they're saying, hey, we're ready. We want to go. Let's get the show on the road already. Get rid of whoever you got to get rid of in the White House. We want to reevaluate. We want to get rocking, right? But until that happens, until that main event happens, and that's going to be the main event as far as I'm concerned, that nothing of great significance is going to happen. So all you guys out there, I'm ordering you. I'm ordering you to stop listening to people that tell you it's going to happen tomorrow at 12:59 a.m. or 12:59 p.m. or whatever. Stop it. Okay. That's insanity. We got to stop the insanity right now.
Well, here's what we know. We know about January 6th. We know that was, theater, kabuki. We know that certain things have already been proven. 46 of 50 states have already canceled their certifications with regards to the elections and said it went the other way. They decertified their votes. The evidence supports itself. SCOTUS has now noted that they can rule on January 6th. And they also have the Brunson case that they can rule on. So they've got a double barrel shotgun. And any more ammunition beyond that isn't necessary. So either one of those situations immediately shuts everything down. And he can be out of office along with Congress in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That fast. So it isn't this big, long, laborious task. It's just, like you said, there's a timeline.
Yeah.
And things have had to take place. The biggest holdup, well, 2 holdups. Number one, Iraq had to complete their budget. And they completed their budget on the 20th of December. So beginning on the 21st, they had to spend their entire annual budget before the end of December. So they had 9 days to do that.
Right.
The dinar is already reported on the Forex screens,
That's correct.
and the rates are very good. The dong, very good. Bolivar, going to surprise a lot of people. That's the sleeping giant next to the Zim bond. Now, I'm not encouraging people to go out and buy currencies. So I'm not trying to give investment advice here. Because Mel, we don't give investment advice,
No.
right?
No.
What we do is we speak educationally so that people can make an informed decision for themselves. Okay? But what do we know about Zim bonds? Go watch the video I put out on the Zim bond. It'll knock your socks off. I did an interview with Dr. Pruitt. It says right on the Zim bond, Mel, payable to the bearer on demand. It's a demand bond. It can't be canceled. It can't be altered. It can't expire. And this is why the Asian elders stepped up and told the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, we got it. We'll take care of it from here. When it comes, see, they're God's storehouse. God chose them to store up the wealth, and he made sure they had a direct supply to it, so they would have enough to cover everything that was stolen in every generation of each person's lineage, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. Now we know in the Bible, in Proverbs 6:31, it says, don't worry about the person that breaks into your house because he's hungry. But once he's caught or known, he has to repay sevenfold. And even if it includes his house. So just for education purposes, sevenfold is not 7 times. So if someone stole $1, 7 times would mean you get a return to $7. Sevenfold means you take $1 times 7, then you take 7 times 7, so 49 times 7. You do this through 7 iterations, and after you complete that 7th fold, that $1 is now $823,543.
What measures do you think Nasara and Jassara, as far as a global law, will have in place as a ironclad law that they owe us X and they got to pay all of it? Is there going to be some laws you think in place? You talk to God, and I'm not saying I believe you. I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm saying I believe that what you're telling is true, but I have no way of verifying. Just like, well, when I saw, God in the sky with the X, that was pretty verifiable, right? But yours is a little bit different. But what do you think? Do you think there's going to be some ironclad laws in place that are going to say, hey, we don't give a crap. You have to pay up. Obviously, the IRS, who is guilty of being the world's most successful illegal collection agency, okay, they have a lot of money to pay back. So just that alone. I mean, some people have a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that there's going to be a new sheriff in town with new laws, and the guns are going to be pointing the other direction this time around, and that they have to pay repercussions to all of us. That would be the right thing. But is that really, truly going to happen? Are we going to get all of it? Because just that alone, 7 times 7, 49, 7 times, holy moly, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, I did it again. I did a video on the 3 payouts. One of the payouts is Nasara. That payout was determined based upon a private meeting I was at in 1994 in Los Angeles with Dan Rostenkowski, who was the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. He worked directly with Kennedy.
Right.
He's the one that basically brought all the tax reform to taxpayers over all the years. He was in for 36 years. He was a Democrat, by the way. And he brought in all the tax reform to reduce the taxes back to a maximum of 28%, capital gains, etc. Now, if you take that, he told us in that meeting everything that we can now say is Nasara. He said 14% national sales tax. He said no income tax. He said no tax on investments. Social Security would be reformed, et cetera, et cetera. But he says, we don't have a name for it yet, and it's about 30 years away. Well, this is 30 years right now. And then I can go back 20 years from then, back to 1974. In 1974, my brother-in-law told me about a gentleman named Tex Ritter. He was a singing cowboy. Tried to get into the Senate, didn't make it. Very politically connected. So he was telling everybody in 1974, Mel, that they were going to get rid of corruption, get rid of the drug money, et cetera, by converting to new money, and we would have 5 days to go to the bank to turn in our money. So he couldn't walk in with a suitcase with $1 million because they'd put you in the small room. They'd interrogate you, and because you couldn't prove where it came from, none of it would count, and they would just simply take it. Well, aren't we kind of doing that with Nasara? You gotta be of the right mind and the right heart to go through the redemption center, because if you're nefarious, just like we found out with the Zim bonds, tier 3, these are the people that have cases or pallets of Zim bonds. There were 30,000 representatives that went to turn these in for exchange. Over 50% of them were clawed back with no payment because they were nefarious. Either the people were or how they acquired them. And that's what's opened up the doorway for us as legitimate owners without nefarious actions to get a bigger personal portion. Originally, it was just going to be 5%, Mel. Now it looks like it's going to be 20%. That's a big difference when we know what the value of that Zim bond is.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's
listen,
a hallelujah.
Yeah. By the way, the video you're talking about is with Rita that I just did. Rita and I definitely capture lightning in a bottle when we're together. We definitely have incredible chemistry, just like I do with you. But the reality is that oil went -0, by the way, and that can only happen for one reason, and it can only happen under one particular regime. That's the Donald Trump regime, and nobody else. Nobody could bring a barrel of oil. They were paying people to take it away. If you really want to know the truth, that's a fact.
Yeah, minus $38 a barrel.
Right. Okay. So mainstream media, in my opinion, whether it was tomorrow, next week, next year, and I'm prepared. I'm not trying to be a party pooper here. Okay. Believe me, I've been here for 8.5 years. Okay. It's going on 9 years soon. Okay. It's a long time to be in this, what I'm in, but believing that this thing is going to come to a head at some point. But I still am a firm believer that this all needs to be reported on mainstream media, and it's probably going to have to be the army storming the newsrooms. You're not going to see, Sean Hannity, and you're not going to have Anderson Pooper and all these idiots reporting the news. It's going to be new people, but it's got to come through that source, because whatever. You have probably, I don't know, a good percentage of normies right now that are on the fence, and they're about to fall over to our side. And that's what's going to make them fall over to our side, is to report the news, even though you and I have become a voice. A lot of people like, Dr. Pruitt and so on have become a voice. They have to hear it through the proper channels for it to be legitimate. What is your take on that?
I think everybody that needed to hear it, Mel, has heard it. It's not a message for the masses, and I'll tell you why. I was getting a little frustrated with people not wanting to accept the value for XRP based upon the years of research and effort and revelation that I received with regards to that. Right down to the point where the Lord pulled me aside and he goes, Dave, this journey was never about trying to convince people about the price for XRP. It was to present the information so that my called and my chosen would see it, and they would know in their heart it was right. And then guess what he did, Mel? He turned around and he says, you know what? I'm going to allow everybody to pick and choose the price for XRP that's in their heart. And that's what they'll receive. So it wasn't about getting to the point where everybody had to know it was $1 million a coin. It was, what's in your heart, Mel? Because away from everybody, it's going to be you and the machine. And you're going to enter in what you want per token. And as long as you don't go over $1 million, it's going to go right through. We know that a very, very large percentage of people have a range that they find acceptable for their XRP. And I'm speaking to the XRP Army 1.0 or even 2.0 or 4.0. They suffer from all of the years of MK Ultra programming, Stockholm syndrome, and the need to have it at what they want it to be. Now, if they want $10, they'll get $10. If they want 100, they'll get 100. So it doesn't matter what God's put in your heart for the price for XRP. And that's what he wanted me to understand. And if it was a great weight that was lifted off of me because of that. I'm an accountant by trade, over 37 years. Tax accounting, forensic accounting, worked with the FBI. So I know how to calculate numbers. I mean, we started with XRP. God brought back the fact that I had been in that meeting for Nasara. Then he turned around and he says, okay, I'm going to go show you the price for gold on the XRP. Because the gold has to back everything, right? So the gold backs XRP. So we calculated everything. I mean, I've been just revealing this. I mean, there's another giant reveal coming tomorrow with the decode. But at the end of the day, what is this all about? It's about us leaving this Luciferian, deep state, cabal, Khazarian mafia banking system, fractionalized money, and going to a gold-backed currency around the world. So that every day, every moment, every second, every single transaction in the world, Mel, gets reported, recorded, and stored on the XRPL. But it has to go through XRP to get there. And that's how we keep the level playing field. That's how we keep everything honest. The IRS, the 80,000 IRS agents that JB was talking about that he hired to go after taxpayers, Trump hired them. He brought them in to get training because they're the ones that are going to go out in the field to contact the companies that don't remit the national sales tax of the 14%. And then when something happened back then and everybody had to take a time out, they were just sent home. So they're still there. They're still trained. They can carry a gun. They're ready to go. And that's what their purpose is. So, the IRS is just being repurposed because there isn't any income tax, period. And Nasara does away with all that. It does away with that theft.
I have friends of mine who are business people who have come to the conclusion that you and I are right about a lot of things, including the IRS, and have called me 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, a year and a half ago, 6 months ago, saying, Mel, I'm not reporting my taxes. I'm stopping the insanity. I'm stopping the hemorrhaging. And I say, good for you, all you guys. You see, if you want the monster to go away, if you guys all stand up and say, you know what, no more. You're not getting our money anymore. Because you're only paying I'd be willing to bet quite a lot that you're paying some law firm that's acting as the IRS because nobody's home. We know that for a fact. By the way, we just went over 1,000 people watching on my, so I'm sure you probably got at least that and then some on your channel. So, but anyway, you're right. I don't care where you're looking at this fight from. This is a fight between good and evil. You know what I mean? And
right.
And I don't care who you are, whether you're an atheist, whether you're a Catholic, a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, you know that this is a fight against good and evil. Someone's got to win and someone has to lose. And from where we stand, we're winning by a lot. I don't even think the other guys have scored any points, to be quite honest with you. I think Guantanamo Bay is a very real thing.
Well, it's so real, Mel, that there were 8 barges back in May and June and into the early part of July that parked, and they actually put people on them, took them away. One was in Manhattan Harbor, and one of the gentlemen that got on there was Jamie Dimon. He was seized and he was put on there. You know, I joked with Dr. Pruitt that it was like the white tanker hospital that showed up in New York and nobody got on it.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't figure out why, because it was supposed to help people. Well, the same type of situation. All those 8 tankers left and were headed to Guam. And on the 9th of July, there was an event that happened where craft were seen caught on NOAA's solar camera going into the sun. Thousands of these little white objects going into the sun. It almost blotted out the camera. And the gentleman that actually did the video, he was having a meltdown doing his video because he had not watched the material. He was doing it as he was doing it. And I remember that day, it was a Saturday, and he's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? What just happened? Well, they kind of just took him right to the lake of fire.
Let's talk about the ETs that were supposedly spotted down in Bayside, Miami 3 days ago. There was a big show. This is a big showdown. Over 200 cars, police cars. You know what that looks like from an aerial shot? Unbelievable. Surrounded Bayside. Nobody can escape. Anybody who had a cell phone had to literally go through a checkpoint, and those videos got deleted. There's kids walking around with boxes that supposedly glow in the dark. Okay. And I think they created these things out of CGI. I think what do they call them when they're playing a movie in midair? There's a name for that. I can't think of it. Maybe you guys can give me the name of that.
Like Blue Beam?
Like a Blue Beam movie. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me that if there was a mass shootout in Bayside, God forbid, instead of, a government sponsored shooting, okay, in one of these things, okay, there would be possibly 50 to 100 cop cars. Maybe that's stretching it. No more than that. But for them to send out every single cop car, every single police they had on the force to this event, to me was a practice run for something much bigger, number one. Number two, nobody asked the question. Okay? The question, who were those kids with those boxes that glow in the dark? Who were they? Are they CIA? Are they CIA trained? Are they kids of CIA agents? Who are they? Why were they able to talk to some people and scare them into oblivion to the point where people that were reporting the day before that they were there all of a sudden changed their story saying, what are you talking about? I wasn't even there.
Really?
Oh, this is big. This is huge.
Wow.
We're talking about they saw, 8-foot monster aliens that sort of moved around like jello that didn't have any bones. This happened in Bayside. I used to hang out in Bayside. This is my old stomping ground.
Well, they said the last thing that would happen was alien invasion.
Right. Is this something? Is this a practice run? Is this a training for the Miami Police Department for something much bigger? I think.
Well, we know that all law enforcement has already been trained by the military for the emergency broadcast alert.
Yes.
I should say emergency broadcasting system alert.
Right. It was a hologram. That's it. Somebody just put it in there. It's a hologram. It was a hologram. It was a movie that plays out in thin air. We've seen holograms of the Pope supposedly talking to a bunch of people in the square, in the piazza, okay, in Rome, and then half of his shoulder disappears like it's happening right now because this is a green screen. And there's another saga to my chair that I will get into at some of the later podcasts. But think about that for a second, okay? They have the technology to pull the wool over anybody's eye and scare the living daylights out of anybody.
Well, and remember, and I credit Coach JV with this. He said, when they're trying to make you look left, look right.
Right.
Because they're trying to hide something.
Oh, absolutely.
So whatever was going on there was an attempt to get everybody's eyes off of something else.
Yeah.
And again,
by the way, before I forget, XRP convention, are you going?
When is it?
The 2nd and 3rd, I believe, of May. We're Amber and I are booked. We're going.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard, much about it. Nobody's called to invite me. So we'll see.
I'm inviting you. You.
Okay. All right.
Yes. And then I'm driving across the desert. My mom's probably watching right now. And then I'm going to go visit my mom for a couple of days in California while I'm there.
Well, I guess the question would be are we there to talk about XRP?
Wouldn't it be nice? Right? That before May 3rd, because I don't believe in dates or it's going to happen tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you guys flat out. I'm going to tell you this one time. If someone told me something's going to happen tomorrow, it didn't happen tomorrow, and they're going to say it's going to happen next week, and it didn't happen next week, and they give me another precise time, I give them 3 strikes, you're out. You guys should stop following these guys. Go to their channels, unsubscribe, and get away from it. This is insanity. It's going to happen. I will tell you, the Pizza Man and XRP line here to tell you it's absolutely 100 trillion% going to happen, but it's going to happen when a certain man with that beautiful blonde hair gets back. And not before.
Well, he hasn't left, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not.
Absolutely.
No, but the other day, Maine filed to remove him from the election.
Oh yeah,
and in their paperwork, it said, well, he can't run again because he's already run for 2 terms. Now wait a minute. The public says he got 1 term. The state of Maine is saying, no, he's still the president. They cited him in their paperwork to the court as the commander-in-chief, saying, no.
When he leaves Mar-a-Lago, right, to go somewhere, there is an entourage a mile long. Not to mention that there is at least, 100 motorcycle cops in front and another 100 behind him. And there's artillery like you can't believe, and bulletproof cars and all kinds of stuff. When you retire to be the president of the United States, you're lucky if you get 4 Secret Service agents that are assigned to you at 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, period.
Right. Well, he's still the CIC, commander-in-chief. That never changed. He just turned it over to the military to conduct the operations that needed to be done to round up the nefarious people. See, their operations started back as early as 2009.
Yeah.
Bitcoin and Ethereum are just big sting operations.
Look, I'm a firm believer, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it for the newest person that's just getting here for the first time, because I think it's another highly plausible story, so plausible that it's practically factual. David Schwartz puts a patent on blockchain technology. You guys have heard me say the story, and I'll say it again for the newest person. 1988, correct?
1988. How old was he, Mel?
A lot younger than he is right now. Probably like
he wasn't 20. Even 15. He wasn't even 15 when he did.
Okay, I know he's like in his 40s now, right?
Yeah,
sure. Yep. So he puts a blockchain patent on blockchain technology. Who is this guy? If he's 15, who is he? Is he CIA? Is he a guy from the inside? Who is he? Is he one of the good guys from the CIA? There's good people in government.
When he was on the team for Bitcoin, there was 4 people.
Right. So
William Finney.
He puts a patent on blockchain technology. Mm-hmm. Fast forward 1999, he goes to work for one of those 4 or 5 letter agencies called DARPA. 2007, 2008, what happens? Right? Bitcoin is born in 2009, 2007, 2008. The housing crash. There are no coincidences. he got the download to play with Bitcoin to see if he can figure it out. And once they realize, okay, he's figured this one out. Now let's give him the real toy to play with called XRP. Let's see if we can figure that one out. That one's scalable to 3.5 trillion transactions per second. Bitcoin is still at what? 3 transactions per minute. The Lightning Network doesn't work. It's a disaster. And it doesn't fix anything. That's why they want to attach an ETF so that the big boys can walk away with all the money and the little guy are going to get crushed.
Right. Yep. But where does that Bitcoin reside? On the XRPL. And who knows where every single coin is? David Schwartz. He can run a query. Matter of fact, you've probably heard of Clinton Donnelly. He's the IRS expert on Twitter,
right,
for digital assets.
Right.
He actually contacted me. It's probably been about a year now, but he goes, Dave, I got a brand new program where I can trace back the history on any token that a person has to find out if there's anything dirty in the chain. Think about that. I mean, it's like everybody thinks they're operating anonymously. No, those digital assets, you and I hold digital assets. Everybody else has crypto because it means in the vault, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like what Uphold did.
Yeah.
Just created a vault. They give you 2 keys and you need 3 keys to move your money out. Why would they ever do that? And they call it the vault. But here it is. I mean, how do you think they found out that all the exchanges were staking our XRP while we were hodling? David Schwartz. He runs a query to say, where are the coins? We just sent 200 million. We just sent 5 million coins to XYZ exchange.
Right.
Well, why are they now over at another exchange? Well, because they staked them to the other exchange for the traders. They were taking all the staking money. And that's when, at the end of 2019, Ripple cut off all transfers to exchanges and said, guys, and we didn't find out about this until 2022. And Brad said, hey, guys, if you want to use the XRP, you can come and get it from us. We're not going to give you inventory that you turn around and stake. And that was a big fiasco that nobody wants to touch, because Uphold was actually restricting people from moving their XRP off the platform with no rhyme or reason. Just, no, we can't do it. Well, it's because they were locked into staking contracts, Mel, and they couldn't get out.
Yeah. So
they had to wait for the contracts to expire to have the tokens available to give to people to move out of their accounts. Because anybody that has an account on an exchange, it's not yours. It's in an aggregated account, meaning they took everybody's accounts and they put them into their account in their name, and they just keep a registry number to show how much a person actually has.
Right.
So if the market shut off tomorrow, they don't have to honor giving that back to you. They just simply say, the records were destroyed. We have no way of identifying what you had. Can you provide us with records? Well, nobody prints off anything. It's kind of like the banks, right? You get an e-statement now. Nobody has those e-statements. Nobody downloads them. Nobody prints them off. Well, same thing. The same thing's going to happen when, they turn the switch. You better be able to prove what you have.
Exactly.
So,
you think just in the event that, this thing is going to happen faster than even I think, even though I'm prepared to go till the end of 24, the end of 2025, the end of 2026, whatever it takes. I'm here to collect, as my shirt says. We're here to collect. See that? Isn't that a beautiful
I like
shirt?
that.
Okay.
We
are here to collect. Okay.
Get one of those shirts, by the way.
Yeah. The reality is, wouldn't it be nice if they announced Trump coming back, Nasara Jassara, and the Vegas convention is maybe 2 weeks away? That would be nice. That would be maybe Brad Kimes will call us and say, hey, you got to fly in the chair. You guys were the ones that are beating the drum the loudest about Nassar Jassar. You're right. Bring in the chair. Wouldn't that be nice?
If he was a man of honor, he would already have a chair there for you, Mel.
Well, that's okay. You know what?
That's not.
We won't serve wine until it's time, and we will get our day in the sun. Believe me.
That's right. That's right.
You know, this has been fun. I had a lot of fun. I think we should do more lives, and we need to practice because we always have trouble finding all the buttons to go live. You notice every single time. So say, Mom, if you're watching, hello, Mom, in California. So and that's
wonderful interview, Mel. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Listen, I had fun, and we got to do it again because I think we should do maybe a live with maybe one or two other people that I think would fit just right with you and me that are along the same thinking. This was very, very different than any other show I think we've done in the past. I think this is our first live, correct?
It is first live.
Yeah, it is our first live, and I'm sure it's not going to be our last. So I got to get used to going live. That's where the fun is at, they say. So, and if you guys know,
there's no editing. There's no editing.
Exactly. It's no editing. Bingo. And if you guys know how to find Dave, tell them where your channel is at on Rumble. This way they can follow you.
You can go to Rumble and look up the Dave XRP Lion Show. All one word. You can also find me on beforeitsnews.com. You can go and see my posts on Twitter at XRPLion1. The numeral 1. But I will tell you, there's a huge reveal coming out tomorrow with regards to the debt code. And you'll see it actually has a new name. And I'm not gonna give it away right now, but I've been dropping little hints about it. But we did a 4.0.
Yeah.
And the one we're going to reveal tomorrow is 5.0, and it's the biggest. It's probably the most important. Yeah.
By the way, there's some good news that just came down the pike on XDC. I just haven't had enough time to, grab all the news and read all the news. Do you know what that was all about? Because XDC is the token that Amber and I hold quite a bit of.
I do not know anything about that.
But we know it's definitely one of the ISOs for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the what I call the 7 dwarfs. So
okay.
Snow White and the 7 dwarfs.
Okay.
XRP Snow White. And then you have the workers.
Right.
All the rest of them.
Right. And we own a lot of XLM too. Yeah, XLM is definitely a token to own. There's no question about it as well. I mean, but it's not going to be the one, guys, regardless of what this little Chinese lady's telling you.
It was never created to be the one.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you can go watch the movie Contact.
Yeah.
With Jodie Foster. It's the story about XRP and XLM. You can watch the Emoji Movie, the last 15 minutes, and it tells the story of how XRP saves the world. So
yeah,
it's not like people don't know about it. It's hiding in plain sight. It really is. And we're so blessed to have been given the privilege to even get to own it. Because it could have been shut off.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
How many banks survived this, do you think?
How many banks?
How many banks will survive this?
Well, the intent right now is the only thing that survives is to help everybody transition over the next 2 to 3 years to fully understanding how to operate on the QFS. Because 99% of our money is going to sit on the QFS, not in a bank.
Right.
And after about 3 years, we'll be able to take care of everything right from our quantum computer or our quantum phone and never need a bank. It's like my grandkids. They're like, Papa, what's a bank? What's a bank, Papa? Just Venmo me the money. Papa, just hit me with PayPal. Now, all of those services are going to go away because of the FedNow system.
Right. We didn't talk about the central bank digital currency. I want to hit on that before we go. You're on the same page with me on the central bank digital currency, and there's some guy over in UK that keeps popping on some of my Telegram channels who I would love to get on the show. I don't know. He's got an accent. He's a young guy. He's maybe 34, 35, 36 in that range. He's a young guy. And him and I seem to be on the same page. I think he got it from me. I would like to ask him that on a show, obviously. But he seems to be on the same page that the central bank digital currency, supposedly according to them, they've already made an announcement that it's not going to see the light of day.
Well, unfortunately, that's part of the FUD. That's the Luciferian deep state cabal, Khazarian mafia aspect of trying to keep control. That's how they were going to keep control now with central banks. Now, what we have are GBDCs, gold-backed digital currencies, around the world. All 209 nations signed on to NESARA on November 24th of 2022. The U.S. Treasury received $45 quadrillion in gold from the Asian elders on July 24th of 2022. And Trump was right there. The documents were signed. Now, and I'm glad we're circling back here. There is no need for a CBDC because there's really no need for a bank. They can't perform any services going forward. They can't charge fees. They're basically to facilitate the fact that for a short window of time, as everything rolls out, we need to be able to put money into a place to pay bills for a short period of time. And then we're going to know exactly how to take care of everything. You know, we're not going to have electricity bills anymore. That's one of the things on my decode coming out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We got Tesla free energy. Matter of fact, the XRP Mel is operating right now on free energy within Cheyenne Mountain. I mean, could you imagine if they had...
This is the reason why I always say they don't want Trump to come back, the cabal, the Luciferians, because the amount of technology that was hidden from us is so staggering. Technology that we're not even going to be able to physically understand right away. There's going to be so many free energy technology modalities that you'll be confused as to which one you want to jump on first. Number one. Number two, I've been saying now, I've come up with the idea that I think is another idea that is highly plausible. And Trump doesn't want to give you flying cars. He wants to give you flying miniature condominiums where you have a bedroom, a shower, an area to eat. Okay. So all the car industry goes away because we're all driving an extension of the Model T Ford, which is antiquated technology. So that, you know, guys like your father can pull us over and give us speeding tickets. God bless his soul. Okay. Your father was a police officer. You know, I'm not too fond of police officers, especially when they, you know, break your, you know what. But the reality is, when you put that kind of technology into motion, just to stop and think for 1 second, just 1 second, your Airbnbs go away, your hotels.com go away, all your car manufacturers go away, all your parts of cars and airplanes, airplane manufacturers, everybody who works for the airline, everybody who works for the energy companies. I'm talking potentially 1 billion people, 2 billion people, literally like that, like this. 1 billion people, 2 billion people out of work. If they were to roll it out fast, they would have no choice but to do a universal basic income, but we would have to find something for these people to do so that that 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000 a month that we're giving them as a stifle for every single month, it would have to be physically, you know, be repaid with some kind of labor. We're not just going to just hand people a bunch of money and they could sit home and relax.
Well, the government has already established a 12-year program.
Okay. So do you think that I'm right that it would disrupt everything if they were to roll it out too fast? Do you think they're going to roll it out fast? Do you think they're going to roll it out slow?
Over 12 years.
12 years.
They've already made the announcement that anybody 18 to 26 is most likely going to go into the service. Now, we don't need a military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because under NESARA, there can be no war. What we need is a labor force operating within the confines of the military,
right,
to take all the humanitarian money that they have and repair the infrastructure. That's a 12-year plan.
Correct.
So imagine all these, these kids, 18, 19, 20, sitting in the basement at home, playing Fortnite and any other video game. Well, they're actually going to be the labor force to make sure that the infrastructure is rebuilt. And correct. There is approximately 90 million of them right now.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way,
90
a few
million.
people. We got a few people in the chat that don't like us too much. They say that we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
That's okay. Yeah, you're always gonna. And what did Jesus tell his disciples, Mel? He said, "You'll
Yeah.
always have the poor among you,"
Yeah.
meaning
So
those that aren't enlightened and aren't filled with the love of God.
yeah.
So
Well,
you and I are not doing this to make people feel bad, or
oh yeah.
to cause offense,
No, not at all.
or to toot our own horn. No, we're doing this because
No.
God put us in this position
Yeah.
and gave us a directive. Like he said, like he told me about you. He calls you his Gideon. Well, how many people were in Gideon's army? 300. How many battles did they fight? 0. God did all the work. They just showed up and God said, "Hey, watch what I'm going to do." And they all killed themselves. And Gideon's army just watched. But it was important to have the army for what it represented. Now, I'm a designated messenger. He gives me the revelation, he gives me the word, he gives me the authority to post it. It's not my opinion. I'm not doing it for my fame and glory. I'm doing it because I'm honoring my Father. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I would have no reason to be here.
Absolutely.
So each of us has a vital role. No one greater than anybody else.
Yeah.
But we have to come together understanding the core information
Yeah.
and not have 25 different variations because this person said this and this person said that. No, it all has to be vetted.
Absolutely.
I see so much information, Mel, that I take it back to the Lord. He tells me what's truth in there. That's what we post, and then it gets confirmed now pretty much right away.
Yeah.
I can do a post one day and then it's being picked up the next day or hours away.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it isn't because of who I am, it's because of who he is.
All glory goes to God, my friend. That's for sure. I was an atheist for a long time. And when the man shows up with next to an XRP logo in the sky, and it's undeniable what this you're looking at, you say, "Okay, Lord, you got me. You want me to sell sell the people the XRP? I'm here. I did my job to the best of my ability. I believe I've done my job. There's going to be potentially. It doesn't matter whether you bought it from my broker. It doesn't matter whether you bought it from Uphold. If you were able to accumulate XRP, because I was able to drop enough breadcrumbs that made enough sense for you to go out there and get yourself some XRP and hold it until the end of time, you will not be denied. You're going to get your day in the sun. There's no question about it. And the guy upstairs doesn't choose people like me because we're good looking. They choose people like us because we have, huevos. You understand? And we will go no matter what, the extra mile against all odds. Okay.
We're conduits, Mel.
Yeah. Before I forget, guys, and you're gonna close us out in prayer. Before I forget, the January 21st. Okay, if you just got me, there's people coming in and out. There's still people coming in and out of the room, the live. January 21st, Staying Alive. There's going to be a live event with Dr. Sandra, the inventor of the scalar wave technology that allows the body to heal the body of all kinds of disease. It's not the machine that heals you. It is the body that heals the body. It's the energy that's provided that the body recognizes, and it produces billions of cells, and it works for everything. Okay. So don't ask, does it work for diabetes type 2? Does it work for diabetes type 3? It works for everything. Okay. So having said that, also we have a affiliate program of sort, a referral agent program. If you go to stayingalive.com, alive with 2 eyes, you can earn $25 worth of XRP completely free of charge. The only thing you have to do is choose your video of choice, get your link, put your link underneath the video, post it locally on social media in Brevard County, the surrounding counties, Florida, and not anywhere in the United States, because they're coming to us because our prices are unbeatable, and they are. Okay. And we will send you out the $25 worth of XRP for every customer you get us. For every person that becomes a customer that buys a package or 2 hours, it doesn't matter. We'll send you $25. We pay out bi-weekly, and we can send it out to you in XRP. Now, this is an IQ test. If you want it in fiat, we'll send it out in fiat as well. But I'm going to give you an advice. Take it in XRP. Thank you, brother. Close us out in prayer, and we'll see you on the next one.
Absolutely. And I want to make a point here, Mel.
Yeah.
And that is when it comes to honoring the Father, we praise and we give thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Prayer, and I'm not discounting prayer, so please understand. Prayer was actually praise. The enemy altered it. So we would pray, so we would hope, we would wish, and we would use the will of God as the determinator of whether we were good or bad. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Okay? When we know that the man upstairs is our Father, just as he had to put a mark on Cain, and it wasn't a physical mark, it was an awareness, it was knowledge that he needed to know. When we begin to change over to praise and thanksgiving, it acknowledges to God that we know who we are. And what it does is it allows the Holy Spirit to release the manifestation of what we've just given praise and thanksgiving for. So Mel, I'm going to lead us in praise and thanksgiving for what God has already done, so the manifestation is released.
Very
I want to
good.
make that really clear. Okay, Father, I just thank you so much for this time with Mel and all the listeners that are out there, and even those that were with us and decided to leave early. We just give you all the praise and all the thanksgiving, Father, for everything that you have already done. The Nasara, the Jusara, the redemption, the repatriation, the XRP buyback. Father, we know that you have already handled all that. And because of that, we can joyfully give you praise and thanksgiving in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, brother. Digital soldiers, you know what's expected of you. Do your job. Spread us out there. That's how we beat the algorithms, because there's some stuff going on even here on Rumble, believe it or not. There's a lot of patriots that they're pouring their hearts out, and they're not able to get past the threshold of 27,000, 28,000, 30,000. They're stuck at that mark, and they're doing fabulous work. Somebody's controlling something, we can beat them, but we got to work together. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
God bless.
See which side to go crazy right now. You ready? Yeah. Hey. Look, I just flipped the switch. I don't know nobody else who's doing this. Body solid drop. Hit the flow. Got it running on me.